Money did not begin as power. It began as a tool. Over time, that tool changed, not because money changed, but because the systems around it did. Every law, every crisis, every expansion left its mark. To understand where we are today, we need to understand how we got here. History does not give instructions, it gives perspective. Money itself remains neutral. Time and interest decide whether it works for you or against you.
You know, when you picture the British Empire, you probably think of tall ships, red-coated soldiers, and a world map painted pink. But what if I told you the empire's most powerful weapon wasn't a cannon, but a balance sheet? Yeah, we're going to dive into the hidden financial engine that powered one of the biggest empires in all of history. So let's start with the big question. How do you actually build a global empire? I mean, the first things that pop into your head are probably military power, right? Conquest, a dominant navy, just overwhelming force. And look, that's definitely part of the story, but it's not the whole story. It's not even where the story really begins. Because the real British secret, the thing that truly set them apart from everyone else, was something, well, a lot less flashy, but way more effective. While other empires were betting everything on military might first, Britain took a totally different route: professional finance. It's a complete flip of what you'd expect. And this gets us to what was, for its time, an absolutely revolutionary idea. One that would literally change the rules of the game for global power. See, what Britain did was professionalize its finances. Now, this isn't just about having a treasury stuffed with gold. No, this was about creating a sophisticated, predictable, and this is the key, reliable system for managing money on a huge national scale. It was basically an administrative revolution disguised as boring paperwork. So, how'd they pull it off? A system like this doesn't run on gold or silver. It runs on something way more valuable and much, much harder to create: trust. And Britain built this trust on three main pillars. First up, reliable institutions. Think a central bank. Second, predictable taxation. So the government had a steady, consistent income stream. And those two things together, well, they led to the holy grail: credible government debt. A promise from the government that people actually believed. And the result of all this careful, systematic work was just game-changing. For the first time, really, on this kind of scale, investors all over the world could look at a government's debt, its bonds, and see them as a safe, totally reliable place to park their money. That confidence changed everything. Because that trust wasn't just some abstract concept. It was the launch pad for the empire's massive growth. It kicked off an era of what you could call debt-fueled expansion. Just think about it in your own life. If you have a perfect credit score, the bank is going to offer you a loan with a super low interest rate because they trust you'll pay it back. Well, Britain managed to do that on a global scale. Because everyone trusted them, they could borrow unbelievable amounts of money very, very cheaply. Essentially, Britain built the world's first national perfect credit score. Its promise to pay its debts was seen as almost as safe as gold itself. That made its government bonds the single most sought-after financial asset on the planet. And you gotta understand, this wasn't just some minor advantage. This access to cheap cash gave Britain a kind of financial firepower that its rivals, like France or Spain, they just couldn't hope to match. It could raise money for wars, for massive projects, on a scale nobody had ever seen before. So this is where the money directly translates into muscle. The ships of the Royal Navy, setting up colonies, protecting those profitable trade routes, all those real, tangible pieces of the empire were paid for not just with taxes, but by selling bonds on the open market. The empire was, quite literally, built on credit. Which brings us to the great reversal. This is a central aha moment in this whole strategy, a brand new philosophy for empire building. Finance comes before force. For centuries, the old model was simple. You use force to conquer places and people, and that creates wealth through looting and taxes. The British model flipped this completely on its head. You use your advanced financial system to create wealth and get access to capital first, and then you use that wealth to build all the force you need. This line from our source material just says it all, doesn't it? The legendary Royal Navy, the globe-spanning army, they were the result of Britain's financial power. They weren't the cause of it. The spreadsheet came before the battleship. And this incredibly successful model, it didn't just fade away with the British Empire. Oh no, it became the imperial blueprint for the future. What Britain really proved was that true, lasting global power in the modern age is built on a foundation of financial credibility, the ability to command the world's trust, and with it, the world's capital. That became the new definition of a superpower. And if you're wondering if anyone else used this playbook, well, yes, the next great global power did. The massive global influence of the United States in the 20th and 21st centuries is built on the exact same principles: trust in its currency and the rock-solid safety of its government debt. So that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. This model, pioneered centuries ago, still pretty much defines global power today, which has to make you wonder, what are the modern versions? Is it control of digital currencies, dominance in tech platforms, maybe something we haven't even thought of yet? The big lesson here is that if you want to know who's next, you should probably start by looking at the world's financial ledgers.
History does not give instructions, it gives perspective. Money itself remains neutral. Time and interest decide whether it works for you or against you.